I would give the pain a 10. A lot of people do tell you it's not that bad and things like that, but me personally, it hurted really, 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 really bad.
So is she in the starting points of getting traction alopecia, or is there another option? And maybe even more important, how can you prevent it? Let's get into it. This girl showcased her wearing a protective style, in this case braids, and as you can see, there were hairs that were out and you could literally see the little white bulbs. This doesn't always have to mean that these were pulled out, and here's why. We all shed about a 50 to 100 hairs a day, and we don't notice it as much because a lot of it falls on the ground, brush it out, or it gets out during wash day. In this case, since she's wearing a protective style, the hair isn't able to go anywhere because it's stuck in between the braids. It's a little bit more noticeable since you're wearing braids and the hair isn't able to get out of there. How could you recognize it getting into the beginning points of traction alopecia? If it's traction alopecia, it a lot of the times involves the front part and sometimes the back. Reasoning why is that the hairs there are more thinner, especially if you get your baby hairs braided. If you add additional braiding hair to it, so not just your natural strands, you're actually adding more weight to that hair. And if you leave it in for longer periods of time, you will also get those shed hairs, meaning that there are less hairs that all of the braiding hair and the shed hair is holding on to, resulting in more weight pulling the hairs that are still in the head down, and the follicles basically after a while give up because there's been so much tension and they're like, okay, we need to let go, and it gets pulled out. Because of the aggressive nature of pulling the hair out of the follicle, the chances are high that damage occurs to that follicle, making it harder for the follicle to produce a healthy hair. Another indication of the hair cell being too tight, bumps and inflammation, indicating that there's stress around or in the follicle. And obviously in later stages, when removing the braids, noticing that there are specific places where you've lost more hairs in comparison to the other places on the head, specifically around those more delicate areas. So here are a couple of simple tips that can help you prevent this. Number one is to really look into a braider that is focused on the overall health of your hair, not just a crisp hairstyle. Not adding too much braiding hair to the braids. Going for knotless instead of box braids. Asking them to put less tension around the perimeter and leaving the baby hairs out. I hope this helps.